Okay, we're on air. Hi,
All right.
welcome to the first episode of Comic Monitors. I'm here with Will Stevenson. Darnell Henriquez will be there in a minute. We are going to be talking about possibly the most controversial series of films that's ever existed, the DC Extended Universe. So, Will, do you want to just introduce yourself first, really quickly? Will Stevenson.
Okay, sure. My name's Will, and this is my first time doing this sort of thing, and I hope it goes good.
We are going to be talking about the most. Sorry, that's me. I had it open in another tab. Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm Matt Invictus. I am a Twitter user with very, very passionate opinions about anything superhero related, and we're here to discuss and argue about the DC Extended Universe. So the first topic on my list is, how are you familiar with the DC characters before these films started being made in 2013?
Well, I guess I got into it first with Batman the Animated Series. Really, that was my big beginning of not just DC but comics in general. And then there was the Justice League cartoon. I've read some of the. I've tried to get into the comics as much as possible. Batman the Killing Joke, Batman the Dark Knight Returns, some of Superman, and then there's the Christopher Nolan Batman films, which I think The Dark Knight, at the very least, is one of the best films ever made, and that's how I really got into these characters. I'm not as familiar with Wonder Woman. I'm interested in getting into her before her movie comes out in June, though.
Okay, yeah, I'd say I am a lifelong DC fan. I watched some of the cartoons, Justice League, in elementary school. I got into the comics in 2010 or 2011. I watched Young Justice in high school. So I was a pretty big DC fan when I first heard they were going to start making this shared movie universe. So I was pretty psyched.
Oh yes, so was I. When I heard Man of Steel was getting made, I was like, oh, okay, let's some competition for Marvel. I'm not the biggest Superman fan, but I like him enough. So I was like, okay, I'm into it.
Yeah, I think all of us were pretty psyched. So let's start with the very first of the DC films. Man of Steel came out in 2013. So what do you think of this movie?
Oh, I like it. I really enjoyed it. I know it's not. I'll admit I wasn't the biggest Superman fan before it. I thought he was not a bad character, just boring, and I thought Man of Steel gave him a little more depth. Although I can't admit it, Man of Steel took a lot of cues from Batman Begins with making Superman more of a angsty loner, the non-linear narrative, and the changes to the source material, which you have complained about at length numerous times.
Oh, that's an understatement. Yeah, in my opinion, Man of Steel is probably the worst of the films. I think it has the least redeeming qualities. And something funny I literally just realized about Man of Steel just the other day, it follows the Dances with Wolves formula. And what I mean by that is that it's like that exact same story we've seen a million times in films like Avatar and Pocahontas and The Last Samurai, where it's like that white man who like joins up with like some foreign culture, and he ends up like falling in love with that culture and defending them against his native people because of his morals. It's Avatar with Kryptonians. I literally just realized that.
I've seen Avatar. Yeah, now that I think about it, I guess it follows the same template, but I think it does enough on its own to set it apart, and I think it's better than Avatar. That might be damning it by faint praise, though.
Oh yeah, I think like it gets a lot of praises like this like really original take on Superman. It's just like just this like really groundbreaking movie. But I mean, it's like the Dances with Wolves story. I mean, even when Avatar came out, that story was getting a lot of crap for being so overdone. But I mean, to be fair, I didn't realize it until just now, so it's not as blatant. But in the end, it is basically just Dances with Wolves and Avatar with Kryptonians. So that kind of cracks me up. But
I never thought it was a groundbreaking interpretation of Superman. I just my thoughts were, okay, it's not perfect, but it's a good place to start for the DC extended universe. It's not trying to copy or ape the Richard Donner films. It's a Superman for a new, more cynical age. They can just lighten him up in the sequel. So that was my take, that it was not perfect, but it was a good place to start and a decent foundation for the other films.
Yeah, I thought it was really bogged down by David S. Goyer's writing. I love Snyder a lot, but in the end, I think Goyer is overall worse. He's a no good cockroach. He's seriously burned out. He got lucky early on in his career, but his writing's not seriously burned out. I hated how Superman felt like a supporting character in his own film. He was in most of the scenes, but he didn't really talk that much in it. He was so silent in this, and especially Batman versus Superman. You'd think he should be played by Keanu Reeves. I did not get into this character. I did not like Lois Lane. I thought she was basically just kind of the very standard smart girlfriend character. And Lois doesn't have to be just this really generic, bland character. She's been done very well in the past. I thought it really failed by focusing so much on her and Clark and their very milquetoast relationship. So I was not blown away by Man of Steel, or as I call it, Dances with Kryptonians.
Yeah, they should put that on the Blu-ray. They should put that on the cover of the Blu-ray. On the cover, Matt Invictus, Man of Steel is the Dances of Wolves for our generation.
Oh no! Don't put me on the cover. Hire me as a consultant. I'll whip these films into shape.
Yeah. What I did like about the romance in Man of Steel is that the one thing about Superman that always bugs me is that his secret identity is so pathetically thin. He just puts on a suit and glasses and acts a little more shy, and we're supposed to buy that. Like, Lois Lane is this Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, so that's the one I like that fix they made, that she was able to figure out that Clark and Superman were one and the same pretty quickly, and they didn't do this whole, oh, she's in love with Superman, but she's just friends with Clark Kent dynamic that gets old and tired. They just decide to cut the bullshit and go into the romance. And I thought that was a part of the source material that they improved upon. I know that's blasphemy, but
yeah, I don't know. I think they could have had better chemistry. Like, I never really felt for them as a couple at any point. I'm not a huge fan of the Mark Webb Spider-Man films, but I do think they did a pretty damn good job with that romance. I actually did feel for them, and I don't even like those films that much. So I feel like we could have used more of that, more just pure romantic chemistry.
But, the Mark Webb, the romance in the Mark Webb films are some of the best in comic book movies, and I know I get so much shit for daring to like those movies.
Yeah, but the other thing that's, and this has been talked to death, but I really didn't like about Man of Steel is that I guess having oh, by the way, I forgot to put a spoiler warning on this video. If you have seen all these films, keep watching. If you haven't seen them, still keep watching, because they're not very good. But about
and they're 4 years old. Like, there's a statute of limitations on this sort of thing.
Oh, I don't know. I still haven't seen Avatar.
Oh, Avatar. It's just like, it's good. It was only good for the eye candy, and even that hasn't aged so well. So there's no reason to see it at this point.
Okay.
But we're getting off topic.
Yeah. Okay. But Superman killing Zod. Oh, okay, Superman has killed in the source material. It's not a new thing for him. It could have been done extremely well if it wasn't for the fact that they forgot about it 10 seconds later. He snaps his neck, and then he screams about it a little bit, and it's never brought up again. They never take time to explore the ramifications of Superman having killed a guy, exploring his feelings, his guilt, how he's changed from the experience. It just happens and is forgotten. I think that is just a bafflingly stupid directing or writing. Whoever's fault it is, it was bafflingly stupid.
They were like, they got it half right. They explored they had Superman killed. This could serve as the little origin for his I won't kill no matter what part of his moral code. They were halfway there, then they cut to him destroying government property and acting like a tool about it. Like they were halfway there, and now that I didn't mind it at first, but now that I think about it, I don't like it as much. I'll still defend it overall, but they should have gone further. They half-assed it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say about Man of Steel. Now let's move on to the motherlode of topics.
Oh.
Batman versus Superman. So, tell us what you think about this film, and I'll try not to explode with rage at every defense you have.
Okay, my story with it is interesting. I did not like the theatrical cut. I actually saw it with my dad, and he actually didn't like it either. I was a little more forgiving with it. Oh, and Darnell has joined the chat.
Hi, Darnell.
Hello, Darnell.
Hello.
Okay, sorry to cut you off, Will, but Darnell, can you really quickly tell us what you think about Man of Steel?
My original intentions was always, when I first saw it, there were some points I enjoyed of it, and some points I really disliked of it. But similar to how I kind of felt with, I forgot what other movie, but I kind of gave it like the idea is this is the movie that is going to launch the DCEU. Depending on how well the DCEU does, it'll either elevate my views of it or downgrade my views of it.
So what did it do?
So far now, it's kind of souring more in my eyes. But like I said, if the DCEU somehow miraculously does like a complete 180, then like I said, I'll be more forgiving of it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I like it. Will hates it. You kind of hate it, but not too much. Okay, so
there's more points I disagree than I agree with it. Let's just say that.
Okay, it doesn't quite sit well with you. Okay, but all right, Will, get back to your Batman versus Superman story.
Okay, so theatrical cut I saw with my dad, did not like it. I was a little more forgiving than him, but I sat on and my biggest complaint was that it was boring, and the middle act, you could play the scenes in any order and nothing would change, and the jeans sequences. So in just a couple, I decided to watch the ultimate cut on a lark to prepare myself for Wonder Woman, and because I heard it did improve things, and I had to eat my words because I do think the ultimate cut is a genuinely good movie. It fixes my biggest problem, which it fills up the plot. It fills up the plot holes, and I don't mind slow pacing in movies as long as I think it's justified. And this one has a very dense plot that it has to take time to tell a story, and I thought it did tell its story well. And here comes the part where you come kill me across the internet.
Oh,
do you want I'm sorry, but do you want specific parts of it that I'll defend?
No, we'll get into that later. Darnell, you want to explain your thoughts on the film before I get into it? I mean, before I rip into it with my razor sharp.
Okay, so I have not seen the Ultimate Edition. I've seen the extended and I've seen the regular at least 3 times. So, the extended I've seen once, the regular time I've seen 3 times in 3 different occasions with 3 different audiences. And my biggest problem is, the first time I ever saw it, I made the joke of, if you replace Batman and Superman with Midnighter and Apollo, it would make more sense than what I just saw. Because it just kind of feels like Snyder is taking off a lot of the images that he's heard of the characters and a lot of the famous scenes of it, but doesn't know the backdrop of why these characters did this and how these characters' characterizations came to fold to being the parts that he did. Because you obviously know that his Batman is based on the Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, but it's almost like he doesn't know the characterization behind Dark Knight Returns. Because a big problem that people always say is oh no, but the Frank Miller version, Frank Miller his character kills and uses guns, even though there's a panel in the book that says guns are the weapons of the enemy. We do not use it. We do not devolve into them. And similarly with Superman, it's like his Superman's like, oh, the bold, this and this. It's not your grandpa's Superman. But the whole point of Superman is that like he acknowledges the fact that he's not the complete perfect being that people make it out to see, and that people have such high expectations of him. But he also knows that his reputation to society, him and them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. No one involved in this film was really passionate about the source material. I think they were more interested in leaving their own mark on these characters than making the best possible film they could. It felt like a really, really pretentious Michael Bay film overall. Maybe there was a bit more effort. They were trying a bit harder to make a genuinely good film than just a bunch of robot porn. But overall, I'd say they had the artistic abilities of a Michael Bay or a Roland Emmerich, competent but by no means a visionary. But my issue with Batman vs Superman is like it's not one of the worst films ever made. It's not as bad as Batman and Robin. It's not as bad as Catwoman. It's not as bad as Battlefield Earth. Although I'd rather watch Battlefield Earth or Batman and Robin than this one. At least those are fun. I'd rather watch The Room than this one because those are more entertaining. But I'd say I think the writing is greatly improved over Man of Steel. I have nothing against Chris Terrio as a screenwriter, which is why I still have a little speck of hope for Justice League. But it does make me angrier than Man of Steel because it has a lot of potential. Man of Steel is a bad Superman film. We've had quite a few of those. This should have been special. This should have been a cinematic milestone, but instead it was a multiple Razzie winner. But the thing.
Can I just say my two biggest gripes that now that I'm thinking back of the film, what were my two biggest gripes? Like when I'm saying with the characterizations and everything like that. Not even counting with the Batman shooting people, that sort of thing, and being ultra violent because of the how long he's been in the game. But my two biggest gripes were the Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. It's like it kind of just wipes away everything about like the whole veneer of Lex, that he's supposed to be like this like intimidating, almost just like professional, almost inhuman sort of businessman. But he's almost unhumanely cool about everything. And then when you see him break out, that's when you see his real humanity. Yeah, and it kind of made it do. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I actually, when I heard Eisenberg was cast as Luthor, I actually defended it.
Oh no, I defended him too, but it was just
like Eisenberg. He's not a bad actor. It's just like the material he was given.
Like the writing is what made him just like. Because like I said, I can imagine a young Eisenberg being kind of like how he was in The Social Network and kind of just being like very aloof, almost you're thinking like, is something wrong? Is he kind of autistic and that sort of thing? But it's like no, they just made him full out kind of like kind of almost like me, where it's like where people but the very least with me, it's like people kind of see it's like they're scared of. Okay, am I going to be very happily active, or am I going to be just very solemn and listening to people? There wasn't that kind of action. It was all hyper.
Yeah, if he were like Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network, it probably would have worked if they were going for a modern, hipster, tech billionaire Lex Luthor like you see in Silicon Valley today. But like that couldn't have been what they were going for. Like, I heard he's like Mark Waid's Birthright Lex Luthor. I've never read that, but I've seen some panels.
No, because Mark Waid's Birthright Lex Luthor is still more like that idea. Like he's kind of hyperactive, but he's kind of like that hyperactive in the way you kind of see a businessman be hyperactive, where it's like I cherish to the community and I'm very happy, almost like Trump is during the political campaign. Like he wasn't like that, like very just like who's gonna win? Like you get what I mean? Like do you know? Like it's not like that kind of hypertension.
Yeah, I know, but I think that's what they were going for. They just didn't pull it off.
Yeah, aside from the insufferable performance, like I think that Regina from Mean Girls had more dignity than Eisenberg. I think Dean Rooney from Ferris Bueller's Day Off was a more dignified, serious villain than this. The one thing that pissed me off more than anything is that they never really gave him a motivation to hate Superman. Like we all know what his motivation from the comics is like his ego. He feels like threatened by this like this all powerful guy who he didn't really do anything to earn his power. He's just a big a lot of insecurity and paranoia. But in this movie,
and also because it's also the idea Superman has this praise but doesn't want it, and whereas Lex Luthor has worked for the praise but wants it.
yes,
And you know, so it's like what's similar to with the ego thing, and that's almost similar to what Mark Waid's thing is, because Mark Waid's is Lex Luthor wanted to be viewed as like the Superman, like I am the Olympic human, and Superman comes in and it's like you should set the bar so high for almost any regular person, even me, that you are a threat. And the fact that you kind of just like brush me aside, it makes me scared. It actually honestly made me scared.
yeah. And I like I've seen the extended cuts. I've seen every bit of footage that has been put out for this movie. I don't think there was a moment in the film where they actually explained why Lex Luthor hates.
It's like he says like, if God is all being and all good, he cannot, like, essentially they're trying to say the idea like Superman's so powerful, there's a chance he might snap and he might be corrupted. But it's like
his motivation is essentially he was beaten by his father, and so it gave him this very warped idea of God, that if God is all powerful, then he cannot be all good, and if he's all good, then he cannot be all powerful. So Superman's very existence puts his entire life philosophy in a spiral, and so his whole plan was to prove to himself that he was right. That's what I got from it. They explained, like, they didn't establish that Luthor has a very twisted idea of God enough. It just came out of left field.
And like I said, it's kind of, you can almost say, like, if it was almost the idea that when Luthor says, my father used to beat me, which was the thing in the comics, Lex Luthor's father was a complete total monster to him and his sister. And you can say, like, that's what caused his twisted view of humanity. And Superman saying it's just like, no, I want to show people that I'm the superior, I'm the superior ego. I'm the people that people should be bowing down to. That would have made more sense. But it's like, similar to what you said, it's like, it just seemed like he has this twisted view of God, but not this twisted view of who should be the protector.
Yeah, I think that overall they did a really, really bad job giving him a motivation, if they did give him any. It's Blink his reasons for actually being Superman so much.
It's like General Zod's motivation actually recognize and sympathize more in Man of Steel than I did with Lex Luthor here.
Yes, he wants to save his species. Like,
he wants to save his species, and you can almost even understand kind of like the idea of like, I know I'm a xenophile. I'm a xenophobe. Xenophobic. I know I'm militaristic. I know I'm practically everything that would have been wrong with Krypton during the time. Well, half of everything that's wrong with Krypton during the time. But at least I actually care. That's more than you can say about others.
Yeah, but like, if they were going to put us through 2 hours of that horrible, horrible Eisenberg performance, they could have at least given him a coherent motivation. So now we suffered, and it feels like a complete waste of time on top of that. So that does make me angry. But the other thing I really hate about this Batman vs. Superman is, like, even though it's not the worst written movie ever, it kind of fails at everything it tries to do. Like, it fails as a Justice League setup, because all those scenes setting up the characters I feel were really weak. You got the really awkwardly shot bit of Aquaman crawling out of the boat. That looked extremely cheap. You got that really kind of disturbing Cyborg raising off the table. He's like this limbless torso.
Oh wait, can we talk about the Cyborg scene?
I don't want, like, Cyborg being in the Justice League at all. It bothers me.
Yeah, it bothers me too. But we talk about that scene.
Yeah.
You know what, for me, the worst part of that is?
The mother box?
I think we all... Wait, go ahead.
The mother box?
No, not even the mother box. I don't even care about that. Like, that's perfectly fine for me. But because that's how he gets constructed in New 52. But my worst thing is, you kind of see in the scene, the dad almost doesn't have that much emotion when he sees his son screaming out in pain. Like, he does a little, but he's not almost instinctively like he's not concerned of what happens if this could go wrong. Because that's how the dad goes in both the original pre-52 and the new 52. The dad is like, oh my god, my son is almost dying, and I have to do this to save his life, but what if it goes wrong? Whereas he's just like scanning on the computer, and he's kind of just like, typing like, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, and then when he gets frustrated, it's like the same reaction he'd have to a really slowed down. He's just like, oh, God damn it.
And like I said, and that could even be a good metaphor too. If it was like Cyborg screaming so much that he passes out, and he's just I did what I had to do, but it almost didn't feel like that. It felt like what I heard you say, like if a computer was slowing down.
Like the whole Justice League cameos, it felt like they were at some point in filming they realized, oh, here's this check mark, we gotta put in the other league members somewhere. Let's put them right. Let's put them right here. Let's get them. Let's just get them out of the way quickly. It felt like they were just checking off a box on a list.
And then the Flash, he like literally just kind of teleported in to the movie. He was like literally just kind of like thrown in. He's just like, dude, I'm too soon. It's Lois. I mean, could they have done a worse job getting us to care about these guys? It was just astonishingly incompetent.
They shouldn't have even been in there. If they just like alluded to them, it would have been better. But they showed us them, and
the Flash being in Suicide Squad was actually much more of a character presentation. Like if that's the first ever time you see the Flash, then that would have been an amazing intro for the Flash. Like Barry's just like, hey, you're stealing diamonds, aren't you? And then he just like quickly captures, because that feels like something Barry would have been doing.
The line was, "No honor among thieves, huh?"
Yeah, no honor among thieves, huh?
But yeah, and like Wonder Woman got off the easiest, but her characterization, that was not Wonder Woman. She is not some like really cold, mysterious femme fatale type. She reminded me more of Catwoman in that movie. Like if you look at the scenes with like her and Bruce, if you told me that was him and Selena Kyle, I would have totally believed it. They did not really get her character right at all.
I thought I didn't. I know she's a diplomat. I don't know too much about her personality beyond that.
The way I would almost describe her better with her character, even though I'm not the biggest Wonder Woman fan, because when I started researching and reading books, her books was always much more hard for me to find. Even like her interaction with the Justice League and just her own standalones, she's almost like Thor and that kind of like jolly, I'm happy to be a warrior sort of personality.
Yeah, regardless, I wouldn't really describe her as like a really like cold femme fatale. She's a much warmer, more, I don't know, sociable character.
Like I said, kind of like Thor and how like he is in the movies where he's like, hey, come on, everyone.
Yeah, she's a lot more outgoing. But I mean pretty much everyone.
1 second.
Okay.
Yes.
So any additional thoughts on Wonder Woman?
I feel like it's both, like, they didn't do that much to really stink up her character, though at the same time, because from what I've heard, the Wonder Woman movie, it's like after she wins World War One, she's just disgusted by the fact of how like humanity revolves back into doing an even more destructive war, so that's why she becomes colder. But it's like, you gotta get what I mean. It doesn't necessarily feel that much like doesn't feel like a Wonder Woman story, or doesn't feel like something Diana would do, like just off base.
Yeah,
it would be like if like remember in Age of Ultron where the Hulk runs away, but it's like imagine that's just like at the beginning of the first Avengers movie. It's like, you get what I mean? Like we don't have the characterization to understand why would the Hulk just suddenly run away.
Yeah, and it wasn't like the worst adaptation of the character ever. It was just, I feel like it was a bit off. It was a bit disappointing. So moving on from that.
Talking about Hulk or Wonder Woman?
Wonder Woman.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving on from that, I also think it failed as a Batman versus Superman movie, because not only was the titular fight only about 5 minutes of the entire film, like I was thinking they would like fight many times. Like there would be a scene where he's like, I don't know, flying around and there's like a Batwing jet like shooting at him while he's like hitting with heat vision. But no, it was just 1 5-minute fight. But on top of that, their rivalry wasn't really a main focus of the film. It like popped up a few times, but it wasn't really as significant to the film as it should have been.
Well, it's not a rivalry though. It's Batman thinks he knows it's Batman who thinks he knows Superman better than he really does, and it's more his vendetta.
Yeah, the relationship between those two characters wasn't really focused on that as much as it should have been. And then there's the fact that their whole fight, not only was like, was it not really. I was disappointed by the fact that the only reason they thought was because Lex kind of forced Superman into doing it. It wasn't because of their differing ideologies or for any like real reason connecting the two characters. It's just because Lex kidnapped Superman's mother, and if you don't fight him, she's gonna die. And then there's the fact that the whole entire titular fight could have been avoided if Superman spoke one sentence to Batman. Like literally, all he had to do is say, "Let's kidnap my mother, and he's going to kill her if I don't fight you. Help me, dude." That's all.
The ultimate cut fixes that though. It emphasizes that Batman won't listen until he gets beaten into submission.
I don't know, but you can't know that because, I mean, explaining the situation to him seemed to work pretty well when they actually did it. Like all they had to do was say, "My mother's name is Martha, and Lex is going to kill her if you don't help me." And then
he was about to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He was about to explain to him in the beginning of the fight. Then Batman kept screwing around with him, and Superman was like, "Okay, I tried these. Now I have to do it the hard way."
I have a trick up my sleeve. I used a stopwatch. I timed all the moment from the moment Superman landed on the ground to the moment Batman shot the first kryptonite grenade at him. Superman had 1 minute and 51 seconds of free time to explain the situation. I mean, and I excluded the moments where it's being like shot at with turrets or like sonic waves or anything. He had 1 minute and 51 seconds of free time to explain the situation, and I know that because I timed it myself. So I don't think that excuse holds up.
Like he keeps trying to say, "Listen, you don't understand." Batman keeps screwing around with him, and he's about to explain it to him again on top of the roof. Then Batman shoots a kryptonite grenade at him, and then Superman realizes he's going to have to beat him into submission Superman realizes he's going to have to beat Batman down a bit until he can talk to him.
But again, like almost 2 minutes of free time where he could have just said that one sentence, just, "Lex kidnapped my mother, he's going to kill her, help me." Like, I mean, I don't think it takes more than 2 minutes to say that, does it? I mean, I said it in like, I don't know, less than 1 minute myself.
Well, no, even for me, my biggest thing is essentially if during the fight scene, like if it wasn't like Superman just kept trying to say it, but then Batman, because of his like, no, I gotta beat you, kept like, every time Bruce, like Clark says, open his mouth, Bruce, like, I don't know, tries to throw a punch, that would have made like a little bit more sense. But it's like, as soon as like the beginning and then the end, it doesn't say, you get what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that sequence was like very poor.
It's like in Civil War where Cap kept trying to say, Tony, it wasn't Bucky's fault. It wasn't Bucky's fault, and then Tony just says, "I don't care."
Yeah, I feel like the scene was extremely poorly directed. Like if Zack Snyder wanted to make us think there was no way, Superman had no chance of getting through to him, he did a really poor job showing that. But I want to move on from Batman versus Superman. Either of you have any final comments on it?
My final thoughts are, I'm glad I gave it a second chance. I did think it was a good movie, not a great movie. Anyone who thinks it's a masterpiece is out of their minds. But anyone who thinks it was the worst movie ever made is out of their minds too. Like, see other movies if you think this is either the worst or best thing ever made.
I don't think it's one of the worst movies ever made. I do think it's one of the most infuriating. It makes me angrier than a lot of the worst movies ever made. But
it never infuriated me. It disappointed me more than anything else. The first time, at least. Like, Batman killing people isn't unheard of, and it's portrayed as a bad thing. Superman is pretty close to his original characterization. And Wonder Woman was great. Like, Gal Gadot was great casting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if that's it for
my main thing, I'll say is just fuck the fact that they had to kill off Jimmy Olsen in that pathetic way.
God. Zack Snyder
is stupid.
is a fucking jackal. He's just a psychotic jackal. He's filled with all this hate.
Yeah, he actually thought he said his reason for doing so was, oh, I thought it would be a fun little Easter egg. He has a pretty psychotic idea of fun.
Yeah, we can have some fun with his character. Oh, did you see like this old interview, like I know around the time of Watchmen, where he like said if he ever got the chance to like do a really dark and gritty Batman film, this isn't word for word, but he said like he thought he'd like include something like Batman being raped in prison. Like including prison rape in a Batman film. That's actually something he brought up in an interview.
Like he said, the universe was dark enough that Batman could theoretically be raped in prison. Like he didn't say he would do it. Like I don't think even he is that edgy.
Yeah, I said it wasn't word for word, but that's but it's still pretty creepy in its own way. But anyway,
he should have thought about that before he said it.
But anyway, let's talk about Suicide Squad. Now, in my opinion, Suicide Squad is the most watchable out of all these films. I don't think it's a very good movie. It's not very well written. It's not well put together. But I think it has more redeeming qualities than the other films. At least it's trying to be fun. It's not trying to be smarter or deeper or more revolutionary than it is. It has, as most of the characters are okay to watch. It's got more energy. I think it works as a stupid, not very top level of I don't know, Independence Day or something.
My views on sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead first.
My view on it when I watched it, I actually genuinely kind of enjoyed myself. My major problem was mainly the plot of like, why did it have to be this specific mission? Because it was like, because the whole purpose of Suicide Squad is that they do missions that cannot be seen by the U.S. government or by other superheroes. But it's like the whole, like, this is Amanda Waller's fault, yada yada. It kind of seems like you could have had Batman or any of the other superheroes do it, because it's like, okay, it's my best interest too. But it's like, but aside from that, like, I actually did like the characterization for almost all the characters, except for Kurt Clark, who didn't have any. But I liked Harley. I actually kind of almost like Deathshot's. Captain Boomerang was my favorite character out of that entire movie. It's like it's almost like I almost forgave the world around it and focused more on just the squad itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, nothing about that movie was in any way spectacular or mind-blowing. But I mean, I thought Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn was fine. I thought Will Smith did okay for a great actor who's past his prime. He did okay. I thought, who else? They were all fine except for
Boomerang.
Yeah, Boomerang was fine. Waller was fine. Everyone except for Jared Leto's Joker. I mean, I don't hate him as much as some people do. I don't think he was a horrible abomination that needs to be punished, but the performance was off. It was definitely off most of the time. So wasted potential.
Okay, can I give my thoughts?
Yeah.
I liked it when I first saw it, but like the more I thought about it, the worse it got. Then I watched Guardians of the Galaxy a couple months afterwards, and it just clicked in me. Suicide Squad is a ripoff of Guardians of the Galaxy. It really
people have been
is.
saying that since like the movie came out.
But then I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and then it just like they weren't kidding. Like, it's a shitty, poorly made version of Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, the editing is
the fact that the main protagonist has a shower scene with an 80s rock song playing in the background, in the same way Guardians had, an 80s song playing in the background in a shower scene.
Like, Marvel should sue for plagiarism. I'm not kidding. Like, they.
Do you really think they want to touch that movie? That's the big problem. Do you really think they want to touch that movie?
Like, my biggest problem is with the writing. Like, the whole, if you give it even a tiny bit of thought, it all falls apart. Like, why would Waller assemble this group of psychotic, superpowered, but still kind of average human beings to get together to fight Superman level threats? Like, theoretically, if Superman were to turn evil, the Suicide Squad would get slaughtered in a second. Like, the whole plan falls apart if you even give it a second of thought. Her ace of the hole.
Yeah, which is why which is why, like I said, why it's my big thing is even during this, like why this mission. Because if it was something that's like you said, so politically, like what's the word that it's like if it got known to the public that Waller was using this ragtag group of criminals for her own personal pleasure, that makes the Suicide Squad more sense because it's essentially the Suicide Squad is her political capital. The Suicide Squad is how she moves up in the world.
Like, say what you will about Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, but they didn't suffer from any bad production or rewrites. Like Suicide Squad's production was, like, you could tell this just got chopped up and deformed in the editing room.
Yeah.
A big bunch of
I think Ayer, I'm pretty sure he was the writer. He only had like a month to do the first draft of the script. I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, Ayer, he's a good director. I've liked all of the movies I've seen of his, End of Watch and Fury. But if you give a person a week to write a script, then it's not going to turn out to be very good, especially if you're just going to edit the movie beyond all comprehension anyway. So they keep getting these big name directors with their own vision, but then they just decide that they don't want the vision. They don't know what they want. They just know what they don't want.
This is something I always talk to Matt about. Matt, what's my rule?
What rule? You have a lot of rules.
Okay, what's my one about big name directors making superhero films?
Get the directors who are actually interested in the property, not just the biggest name you can get your hands on.
Like, if you get a small-time director who is competent and they are so hungry that they will read the book, that for me kind of shows like it will probably make a much better property than a big-name director who says, "Well, I don't need to read it because my vision is already better."
Oh, I think David Ayer wants to make these movies. Like Mel Gibson wants to make a second Suicide Squad.
I mean, like I'm not saying all big names, because you have to get like Tormo, Joss Whedon for the most parts, but it's kind of like you kind of run like it's almost like a balance where it's like the higher big name you go, the bigger the ego is probably going to be, and the less likely they're gonna develop and research on something rather than going from straight to the book. It's gonna be straight to their own visions, whereas like the lesser name, maybe you're not going to get as confident, but maybe you're going to get more loyalty to the original source material since they're going to be more nervous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I've got a split for a little bit. I might be back, I might not, and I'll just give my own final thoughts on Suicide Squad overall is that it's, in my opinion, the worst film in the DCEU. It's a poorly edited, chopped up piece of garbage, and I can't. And like the minute you give it even if you wanna just turn your brain off and enjoy it, I guess. But if you give it even a second of thought, you're really not gonna like it. I think I'm gonna say that I think. Say what you will about Batman versus Superman, but at least it had a vision and stuck to it. Suicide Squad has no direction, no vision whatsoever. So anyway, I'll be back if I can.
Okay, we'll be going on a little longer, so if you can make it back, we'll probably still be going. Oh, he's gone. Okay, is that all your thoughts on Suicide Squad?
For me, I kind of feel slightly the opposite, where it's like if there's a spectrum between worst film ever made and best film ever made, I would kind of just deviate a little bit more to the good side, but it's just mainly because, like I said, all the characters didn't offend me as much as the Man of Steel, not Man of Steel, as Batman v Superman did, but like I said, I find a huge bunch of problems with the plot. It isn't as bad as, say, for instance, like I said, a lot of the things they made in Man of Steel.
Yeah, it's not a good movie. It's an inoffensive movie. I said it's not the best of the movies. It's the most watchable. So
it's like I remember because I often say the best thing to come out of Suicide Squad is the fact that they actually put in good writers back on the book.
Mm-hmm.
because like there's a lot of scenes because again like issue 7 of the new Suicide Squad book. There's a part like they're showing Killer Frost's team, and it's all the team from the movie, and it's like, but it's just so well done that it's like, why couldn't we see this? Like if you just put in the fucking music from the movie, it just read this, and it's like, this is what the movie should have been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never really been a huge fan of the comics, so.
There's a part where like there's literally a part where right now in the books they were trying to get General Zod so that Waller could imprison him and make him part of the movie. And like you're thinking to yourself, if Suicide Squad was even like the very least most like similar to this, and what they did was like, let's go and kidnap the body of Doomsday, like that alien that killed Superman. That would have been like an actual interesting game because it's military Blackwater stuff.
Mm-hmm. But no, you had to get Cara Delevingne in a metal bikini and have her be the big, super powerful, magical villain.
Which is kind of really sad. Wait, go ahead.
Do you think they really just want to introduce magic into the DCEU?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They
That's
want
why.
to introduce magic into the EU because they forgot. Crap, we forgot magic because you kind of saw. Because like I said, it's like the Suicide Squad. I mean, the DCEU is the Marvel. Is the Marvel's, you know, the MCU, but on fast forward. Without the build-up, because like I said, look at the MCU. The first one is almost all technical-based heroes except for Thor, and even then they had to downplay the magic. Mm-hmm. Second one, they were just like, okay, now we're getting to the little bit of the weird stuff. Phase 3, all weird shit, and now it's like full-on magic is back again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really just want to tack on a magical villain. So, moving on from Suicide Squad, finally, let's talk about the films that we've seen trailers for but haven't come out yet, Wonder Woman and Justice League. Do either of those films look appealing based on the trailers?
I like them.
Oh, good.
I think Wonder Woman and Justice League actually look pretty good. I like the Justice League trailer. I think Wonder Woman's probably going to be the better film. I liked it from like trailers don't really anymore have an indication of what kind of quality the film is going to be, but I like where it's going. It's more, I like the World War I setting. I liked Gal Gadot's performance. I like the brighter color palette. The cinematography looks good, and I think that's going to look good. And Justice League looks pretty fun too. Like if those two films end up being crap, then abandon all hope, whatever you might have left.
It's like for me, Wonder Woman, similar to what he said, kind of it's like that's the one I feel more optimistic for, mainly because like you have actual people that worked on actual Wonder Woman stories. Jonathan, I forgot his last name, but he was the guy that wrote like the bibliography of Wonder Woman. You have Jeff Johns, who said he did treatments on the film. And it's like I said, like the World War I setting, that makes sense. Like every change I've seen of Wonder Woman actually makes more sense than the changes I've seen for the previous, DCEU films, which are like, well, we changed it. Why? And it's like, well, we don't have to tell you. And then, and at least with this, it's like, okay, at least I see the rationale.
Yeah, the one thing that concerns me about Wonder Woman so far, based entirely on the trailers, is that they don't seem to focus on Diana's character that much. She's like very silent. If anything, it focuses more on Steve Trevor as a character. It shows her like kicking ass, looking cool and all, but she doesn't seem like that much of an emotional presence in the film. Kind of the same way Henry Cavill's Superman wasn't that much of an emotional presence in either of those films. So that's concerning, but it's just the trailer, so I won't judge yet. It does look good. I like most of the people involved. I haven't seen any Patty Jenkins films, but she seems passionate about the material and interviews. I think Jeff Johns and Alan Heinberg are both competent writers. I've heard Zack Snyder had a little bit of input on the story, which sends shivers down my spine, because anything with his name attached nowadays sends shivers down my spine. But I think the film that I'll be most like is the first Captain America film. It's not amazing or groundbreaking or anything, but it's satisfying. You can watch it and walk away from it as a perfectly good, satisfying film.
Well, that's actually the ironic thing, because the Captain America film is actually what I based my Man of Steel review on. Because when I first saw that Captain America film, I was just content with it. I was like, okay, fine, but and then now I want to see him in the present day. And then, well, you know how much I love Civil War I am, especially Winter Soldier. And now when I go back to see those films, I'm kind of just more happy because I'm like, holy crap, on how much they they press it in and how much this movie kind of just like jump started everything. And you can see like the lines. So you see that this is an actual crazy story.
Mm-hmm. And then for me, Justice League, the film I think it's going to be the most like is X-Men Apocalypse, where again it's not offensively bad, it's not one of the worst movies ever, but you're just sitting there watching it, you're just astonished that that's all they could do with this source material. Like you have more than enough material to make this amazing film, and then you're just stuck there with this really unremarkable, mediocre stuff. That's what
Speaking of that's all they could do. Do you know? Have you heard how long the movie's going to be? Because the length has been leaked out.
Oh yeah,
like 3 hours.
yeah.
2 hours and 50 minutes, I believe. So just 10 minutes short of 3 hours. So, like, you better. So you better it. With that much, it's either going to be a lot of padding or it's going to be a story of such grand and epic proportions that our minds are going to be blown away, or it's going to be like a Michael Bay Transformers movie where it's over 2 hours long and you're just bored the whole way through.
Yeah, when you go see this movie, this goes for everyone, I recommend sitting in the very, very back row of the theater so you can whip your phone out with no one noticing. You can just go on the internet during the extremely boring scenes because you know it's gonna be drawn out. Like Lord of the Rings, this is not. Peter Jackson.
Oh no! Speaking of Lord of the Rings, which just reminded me, you guys saw when like the first Justice League trailer came out with like that giant battle scene, and people were saying this is what a real war looks like, and they were comparing that to the airport scene in Civil War.
Oh my fucking god!
Like that always bothers me. Like people measuring how good a battle is by the level of scale involved. Like that means nothing. Like scale is a very small part on whether or not you can tell what's going on. You can understand why the characters are doing what they're doing and whether or not the action is well shot and seems believable. Like scale is a very minor part. Like if you have great scale, then good for you. But if scale is all you have, then you're just watching then it's like watching a painting in motion. Yeah, it's good to look at, but it's fundamentally empty.
And I mean, just for me, a big thing is like, once again, we don't even know what this battle is. Because, like I said, at least with the airport scene, even from the trailers, you do, okay, it's all these people that are supposed to be friends fighting a civil war, meaning like that their organization is falling apart. And like these people are supposed to be protecting us and not fighting each other. Whereas with this, like, we know who the good guy and who the bad guy, who the good guys and who the bad guys are. And like for every like one member of the Justice League, they could probably, even Batman, they could probably take out 100 of these enemies per second.
Yeah, it looks like the Amazons versus parademons, and like it feels like they're shoving way too much stuff into this film. You've got like the 6 characters, most of them have hardly been set up. Then you got a bunch of shit with the Amazons. They're introducing a new Commissioner Gordon. It's got Lois Lane. It's got Alfred. It's just got way too much shit going on. It might be another Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I have not seen that film, so I'm not completely judging it. But I
like it.
Well, we need to force him to watch it. Either it doesn't even matter if we think it's good or not. We just need to ductate him and watch it Clockwork Orange style.
I'll send you a link to my PayPal accounts.
But one more thing. The biggest worry I have about Justice League is that it was originally going to be a 2-part story. There was going to be a Justice League Part 1 and a Justice League Part 2. Now, because of the big backlash from Batman versus Superman, they're just deciding to make it one movie. Darkseid is no longer the main villain. I believe it's Steppenwolf now, and
which
like
actually
that
for me always makes a little bit more sense. Because they were trying to base it off the first run of the New 52. But Steppenwolf actually kind of makes sense because it's like you're starting off with a slightly smaller tier villain for these like new, fresh, not even seasoned superheroes, and then Darkseid should be like a couple years later when they actually have like a few notches in their belts.
Yeah, like DC is moving like the way they're doing it. They're starting up with such big scale that then like they're gonna have to keep topping themselves. Like we've already seen the
like
world.
imagine like if in the MCU it went from a Chitauri invasion to Thanos already. It's like wait and it's like wait what like first of all they're not that fresh off. They don't even know how to work themselves better than work as a team. And it's like already if we've already established that these people fresh off can beat this guy of high magnitude. It's like, a lot of people know I like Ultron, but it's like I don't think Ultron is that much threatening by himself than Thanos in his entire collective army.
You know what I think they're gonna do? Like, okay, we all know Justice League, the first movie. It's Steppenwolf, one of Darkseid's generals, leading an army of parademons. I think that this is a major shark jumping moment. That when they do get to Darkseid, it's going to be him leading the Justice League. It's going to be him leading a whole bunch of established DC villains, and that's how they're going to one-up it. And that feels like ridiculously stupid to me.
Yeah, like I said, they're moving too fast. They're moving too fast. They're starting off big and then they're going to get small. But like it's kind of the reverse order. Like with Marvel, they started off with small scale threats and villains until they worked their way into the Avengers. Then they got back down to small scale threats after the Avengers, and then went back to big scale in Avengers: Age of Ultron, and now again it's small scale threats, and then it's going to be ultra scale.
But it almost feels like small scale, but also more like personal sharks. Like there's more for them to lose. Even if it's like the scale, like it's not Ultron, but I'm losing my best friend and I'm losing my principles here.
Yeah, Marvel. They know what they're doing. Like the stakes could be small but personal. Like they're always threatening, even if they're not always on a grand scale.
But yeah, that's like why Snyder was such a bad choice for these films. He's completely style over substance. He's quantity over quality. He has no sense of restraint. You can't expect him to hold back when he needs to and save the really mind-blowing, massive set pieces for later on when they're more justified. It is really like if they got put Michael Bay in charge of these films. They need I don't know, just people with a sense of restraint, better long-term planning abilities, because the long-term planning in the DC films is some of the worst I've ever seen. It's like bad TV show level planning.
Yeah, they're playing it by ear and sort of just throwing whatever sticks onto the wall, and it's so clumsy, and it's not a long-term sustainable plan. It's going to they already have a bunch of movies like Cyborg, Shazam, Black Adam.
Yeah, we'll be getting
a Man of Steel 2. Like they have all these movies in place, and their cinematic universe has just gotten started. And quite frankly, I'm worried that we might not even see those movies.
Yeah, we'll be getting to those. But for now, I do have like a tiny bit of. Against my better judgment, I do have a tiny bit of hope because there's better people involved. They got like a Jeff Johns as a producer. They've got there's no David S. Goyer involved at all. It's just Terrio writing. I don't think.
Yay!
So I mean, there's less stupid behind the scenes. They've cut back on the behind the scenes stupidity. But based on what we've seen in this movie so far, I think the best we can expect is inoffensive mediocrity. I think that's after Justice League comes out, it's going to be kind of a soft reboot. The other films try their best to not acknowledge Justice League Part 1. So, okay, any final thoughts on the Wonder Woman and Justice League trailers?
Let's hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst, I guess, is my best advice.
Mm-hmm. But, okay, moving on. the announced films. Out of all the movies announced for the DCEU, all 20 or 30 of them, which ones would you guys say you're most excited about?
Well, originally I was just kind of praying that Green Lantern looks good, but the fact that it's Goyer and that sort of thing kind of makes me feel like, oh.
Yeah, I wouldn't get my hopes up for a Green Lantern. I think I think they're allergic to this property. But
it's like originally before I heard it was for me it was Green Lantern, Shazam, and maybe the Flash, and now it's like for me sometimes I don't know.
Yeah, for me, the only one I'm really excited for is Nightwing, and that's based on the fact that it's Nightwing. Nightwing's my man. I can't possibly not be excited for this. And I mean, I guess Chris McKay seems qualified, but let's face it, he's not going to be signed on by the time they start filming. Like every DCEU film, there's an unwritten rule that they have to go through at least one director before they actually make it. So I wouldn't even expect McKay to be signed on. But it's my guy, Nightwing, so I have to be excited. And then Deadshot. Anyone excited for Deadshot?
Meh. I guess it could be good. I don't understand why he's getting a movie made. Like, not every character needs a movie to be made about them.
Yeah, I'm not expecting it to get made. Cyborg.
I mean, if it was Deadshot versus Deathstroke and they're both going after the same target, I would have been more interested. But it's like,
that'd be interesting. Oh,
it's like some movies like Who's the Best and like something like that. But it's like, you get what I mean? It's like
the movies. Can I just say the movies I'm excited for, hoping for?
Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, he's my favorite superhero, the Batman film. Like, I was a bit more excited when Ben Affleck himself was directing it until he then dropped out. But Matt Reeves seems like a worthy replacement, and I still think it'll be good and may be the best one in their lineup. And what else? I'm actually looking forward to a Man of Steel 2. Like, they should have done a Man of Steel sequel in the first place after Man of Steel to further Superman's character. And
Yeah,
I don't know who's directing Man of Steel 2 though. I don't think anyone knows.
I don't know if he's confirmed, but I know they're trying to get Matthew Vaughn. He did a Kick-Ass. He did a Kingsman, X-Men First Class. He'd
be great. Like, get him on it.
Yeah,
And
they're at the very least trying to get him. So if he's signed on, I'm definitely sold on it. They couldn't have gotten a better guy for the job.
And maybe, I guess Flash will be good. I'm not the biggest Flash fan. I know you like him, but
well, the thing is, I hate Barry Allen. I fucking hate Barry Allen. I know that's blasphemy for comic fans, but it's like his successor Wally West was a million times better Flash than he ever was. Then they brought Barry back. They just completely tossed Wally under the bus. Barry hasn't done jack shit to earn all this exposure. He was never as good a character.
Oh, I have no opinion on Barry Allen. Wally West is the Flash I'm most familiar with from the Justice League cartoon, and I liked him. He was funny, charismatic, kind of childish, but in a charming, not annoying way. And he was actually pretty powerful. Like, I remember that episode of Justice League where he punches out Lex Luthor and then becomes one with the Speed Force. Like, Flash is Wally West is a pretty great character. I wish, in fact, Ezra Miller's Flash reminds me more of Wally West than whatever Barry Allen's character is supposed to be.
He really is, because Barry in the source material does not have enough characterization to really lend to a good adaptation, so they have to borrow from his successor. So that pisses me off too. I am not rooting for this Flash movie in any way. If they turn it all around and it's like, they kind of redo Barry to be a bit more original, to kind of work on his own, and then they bring in Wally as a sidekick, then I am sold on it. But if it's just a Barry movie, fuck it.
So as the kind of Barry Allen apologist here, my biggest thing is with Barry is Barry's kind of personality and things kind of stems from his environment, the way he treated the Rogue Gallery, and the way he kind of treats, Hal, Superman, all those characters, like the people he worked with, and definitely, yeah,
He's like a
Wally
Boy
has
Scout.
just wait, what?
He's a Boy Scout. He's basically Clark Kent if he was a forensic scientist instead of a reporter.
Yeah.
That's how I see him. And
That's the best way I would probably describe it. It's like, yeah, but it's like, so yeah, you kind of do need it because, like I said, if it's him working with Hal and working with all the people that he did originally work with, that makes sense. And also, you kind of need him because if it's Wally coming in, Wally needs that role model that's like, no, my drive is to become as good as the man who taught me, sort of thing.
yeah,
But it's kind of like, wait, go ahead.
No, you can go. I interrupted.
I was gonna say, but yeah, but it's kind of like this main thing of like, yeah, don't make Barry just like a predestined version of Wally. So it's just like Wally's just completely copying Barry because, like I said, a huge personality thing of Wally's how, like I said, he grew up as Kid Flash, then becomes Flash, and then becomes his own Flash, and down to the point that when Barry comes back, both of them are Flash up until the New 52.
Yeah, and pretty much all of my hatred of Barry Allen. I wouldn't think he was an amazing character under any circumstances, but my hate is purely emotional because.
Tell me,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt, but tell me, do you hate Barry Allen because he was responsible for the New 52 reboot and the Flashpoint storyline? Is that
well,
why?
they're starting to change that. They're starting to make that it was actually Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen that caused the whole reboot, and Barry was innocent, but. Yeah, that got under my nerves too. But it's mostly the fact that I feel like he completely supplanted a character I feel like not only I liked more personally, but people unanimously agree that he had a better run as the Flash than Barry did. So it's more DC's obsession with sucking his cock that pisses me off. I can't get behind him under these circumstances.
Yeah, it's like for me, it kind of feels like because it like I said, when Johns did, when Johns does the Flash and his entire thing from Flash Rebirth all the way to, all the way up to Flashpoint, it's all the story of Barry trying to find his way back, trying to adapt back to this new world. Blackest Night, all the stories, and like I said, it's like you can kind of see how he's almost proud of Wally being the new Flash, but then it's like. Flashpoint was originally kind of supposed to be like a Back to the Future kind of story. It was supposed to be like similar to how, like I said, Blackest Night was seen as like the pinnacle of Johnson's Green Lantern run.
But then the editors came in. And they're like, let's take what's meant to be just like another event comic and turn it into a company-wide reboot, just like wipe out everything. So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I have a lot of negative emotions associated with the Barry Allen character, and it's not entirely fair on him, but I don't care if it's fair or not because I'm a vengeful son of a bitch.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, trust me. As me being someone that knows you, that is completely in the right.
But Gotham Sirens, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't. Why does that exist again? Like, it's just going to be it's just going to be the female villains of the DC universe of Batman gathering together and like, what's the plot? Like, I like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. Like, they had a great chemistry in the animated universe, but I don't. But I find it hard to believe they'll be able to replicate that.
It's like, once again, it's similar to my main thing of when Gotham Sirens and Birds of Prey. These are two books that sold very well, that made very big headlines. I mean, Birds of Prey ended up all the way from the Chuck Dixon run all the way back, like I said, up to the New 52. But it's like, once again, the story, the characters just in here. Like, we don't see Barbara Gordon in the wheelchair. So who's gonna be the mission control? It's just like you gotta be like it's like they think like we're just gonna run out because of the suits, but not because of the character.
Yeah, and I mean Gotham Sirens, I'd say out of all the films, it's the one I want to be good the most because I do really, really like all three of those characters. And they did have a there was an ongoing Gotham Sirens series just before the reboot. It focused on Harley, Ivy, and Catwoman, and it was good. So those three can work as a trio, but again, I'm not getting my hopes up for it. I want it to be amazing, but I'm not going to get excited for it like I am for Nightwing. What else is there?
The Cyborg movie.
Don't tell me you're not excited for Cyborg. Don't tell me you're not.
I'm not. I like. Okay, like I don't dislike Cyborg. Like I
I
one of my
usually don't
favorite
even know
shows.
how the fuck they would do it. I don't even think like New 52 could cut it.
Like I liked Cyborg in the Teen Titans, like on the show in the early 2000s. That was like he was great in the Teen Titans, but I mostly dislike the fact that they're replacing Martian Manhunter, who I think is sorely overlooked and underappreciated.
That's
like
No, but remember what Goyer said? Only virgins like him.
yeah, well, screw him. He's a terrible writer who hates comic book fans. So.
But yeah, like what you said is the consensus of 99.9% of comic fans. No one really hates Cyborg. They hate him in the Justice League. They want him in the Teen Titans. He was created to be a supporting member of the Teen Titans. He fit in there just fine since it's a bunch of well,
not just that. It's not even he's created. It kind of feels like that same thing of like I said. It's like he's not even second generation because you would almost see like D Super as the second generation. Batman, Superman, second generation because of, the JSA. But it's like, these are supposed to be like the third generation. It's like,
yeah, but
it kind of imagine like, I don't know, like imagine like in the MCU, they just bring up Kamala Khan all of a sudden. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing here?
yeah, but I was gonna say he works in Teen Titans so well because it's like a group of weirdos and misfits. Like aside from Dick Grayson, who is like a god in a man's body, you've got Starfire, who's like a total like fish out of water with a traumatic past. You got Raven, who's got all sorts of issues. Beast Boy, who's a goofball. He really fit in with this group. But with Justice League, it's a team of gods, and then you got just this Cyborg. Who's just this.
He's so boring. Like okay, I get his backstory. He was a star football player. He had a bright future. Had an accident. He becomes a cyborg. Like he's just such a wet blanket. Otherwise, like he just doesn't fit in. It's like Martian Manhunter. Like he's the last of his race. He had a family, lost them. Now is trying to adapt to his new home. This is what we get. You replace a compelling character with someone who shouldn't even be in the Justice League. Like
nobody likes Cyborg in the Justice League. Like nobody.
Like it's not that I hate his character. It's just so much that I hate how he's being pushed. I guess they want us to like him a lot more than people are willing to. Just put him in the Teen Titans and then all of your problems would be solved.
Yeah, and then there are rumors, and I hope these come true, that they're not even going to bother trying to make his film. Instead, they're going to try and make a Titans movie. They're going to bring in Nightwing and Starfire and Raven, and it's just a rumor. It's too good to be true, not likely to happen. But if it does happen, that would probably be at the very top of my excitement list because diehard Titans fan here. I couldn't, and again, it's like Nightwing. I couldn't possibly not be excited for this, even if it looked bleak. I just have to look forward to it.
Oh, now the question they're making an Aquaman movie, right?
Yep.
Yep.
That I'm excited about. Jason Momoa, Jason Momoa is awesome. Like if anyone can make Aquaman cool on the big screen, then it's him. I think, and depending on who they get to direct and write it, of course, but I think the Aquaman movie also has a pretty good chance of being good with Jason Momoa as Aquaman, as this cool.
That's for me one of my biggest fears because the whole point of the for me, I've talked to Matt about this multiple times. Aquaman is supposed to be kind of like the mix between Superman and King Arthur.
I know he's like a diplomat. He's like very tough and stoic, but in the end, he's like a very reasonable diplomatic ruler.
But not just even that, because he's super. Like I say, he's like the mix between Superman, King Arthur, where it's like he's the outsider, but he also has to weigh those responsibilities, which is why he does so many things that you would not even see Superman do. Like Aquaman has no issues with murder. In fact, the only time he doesn't kill is because he knows it will make him look bad. Like with Black Manta, like he knows so many times if I want to kill Black Manta so bad, but it would make me look like a vengeful tyrant and make the surface world afraid of me. You know, if I just killed this guy, even though he murdered my son.
Yeah. I mean, the Aquaman film does, like, it is interesting because it's being directed by James Wan. He started out like doing like the first Saw movie, and then he did one of the better Fast and Furious movies, The Conjuring. So it's like they got, like, you know, a horror director who also has some big budget experience. So I think that's at the very least going to be interesting. It could be the greatest thing ever, and it could be a painful train wreck. But at the very least, no one's snoring this one off. So. Which is more
they need to make it like they need to make it very pulpy, kind of like a very pulpy, very lighthearted, fun adventure, because making Aquaman dark just is not going to work.
Yeah, I think they cited Pirates of the Caribbean as an influence.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. As long as it's the first one, and maybe the second one if I'm being generous.
Yeah. Okay, and then let's talk about Batman, the movie that is taking way too long to get in.
Okay, before you do that, I've gotta leave the chat again.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Okay, the Batman movie that is taking way too long to get into production. I think I will be excited for. I am invested in this film no matter what, but I do really, really want a proper Bat family movie this time around. Like, I don't just want to see Bruce, Alfred, and the dozen different villains like we usually see. I want to see Nightwing. I want to see Robin. I'll even settle for Batgirl, but I do want him to have more allies in this one besides just Alfred. I think that's the most logical direction to go with this one to kind of make it stand out on its own. So what do you think?
Yeah, for me, one of my biggest things is I kind of just wanted to show that it's not that Batman's like, oh, I'm the greatest and I'm this ultra dark character. Like, I kind of wanted to show that Bruce, someone always say he has allies, and I should say that his villains are even kind of just more like, just crazy. Like, they're not these giant egomaniacal, I'm gonna take over the world like Bane did in Dark Knight Rises, or the Joker's just like, no, I'm just a criminal. I'm just a criminal that wants to, rule over Gotham, kind of like the Purple Man and Jessica Jones.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think definitely just want to make a Batman itself the main focus, because most of the Batman movie directors have been more invested in his villains. Like Burton, you can tell he was all about the Joker and the Penguin and Catwoman. Even Nolan, he was more invested in the Joker than Batman himself in The Dark Knight. So I want a proper, Batman arc in this movie, and his allies and his villains. They all have to be kind of genuinely supporting Batman as opposed to Batman supporting them. So. But what do you think of Deathstroke as the villain?
I feel like it would work, semi-work and semi-not, because of the fact that it's like, if Deathstroke works because it's like either he's being contracted or he wants to prove himself to be the best hunter, yeah, like I said, it makes sense. But don't make it like it's Bane, where he's like, he's just a stooge for the bigger villain, and he doesn't have any motivations besides being the stooge.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with Deathstroke. I think it's new. I think it's an interesting new direction to take it in, but I'm going to be very cautiously optimistic about this one, because we all know that how much trouble they even have settling on a director, or even settling on what the hell they're going to do with this film. So I guess I should be grateful just to get a good Batman film, period, instead of hoping for a good movie that features all my favorite characters. But I might be selfish.
Yeah, like I said, for me, one of my biggest things, like I said, a film, like I said, you have Batman versus Deathstroke. Deathstroke is the villain. It's kind of just like Arkham Origins, where he says, oh, why did I do this? Oh, the fight of the century.
Yeah.
You know, the fight of the century, so on, so on. Fight of the century, we fight. Bruce wins of his teeth. Deathstroke says, "Oh, I'll be back, son of a bitch." And then you can even tie it up and say like fight of the century, and then like the whole bigger thing is that maybe he beats out. Like you find out the actual main reason is because he's actually looking for Dick. He's actually like wants to find Dick Grayson. It's like, oh, originally I was looking for Dick, but you are going to be my, I'll just fight you as a compensation prize.
Mm-hmm. And then he spin him off into the Nightwing movie.
Yep.
But are there any other announced films that you'd like to give your thoughts on? Black Adam. What else is there? There's a million of these. Captain Marvel. I mean Shazam, because they can't call him Captain Marvel anymore. Have we gotten them all?
Yeah, I think we've gotten them all because I said I already talked about Green Lantern.
Yeah. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to bring up is, what would you like to see from the DCEU that hasn't been announced yet? Like what characters, what movies? Just what do you really, really want to see them give us that they haven't announced?
I don't necessarily think that okay, I know that they've announced Booster Gold already, but at the same time that they've already announced Booster Gold, but I kind of want to see just more research on that, because like I said, Booster Gold could be maybe the same grace that the DCEU could do. Because I mean, at the same time, it could just be something like, oh, the entire reason why the New 52 is all fucked. I mean, not the New 52, the DCEU is all fucked up. So I came back to the past and accidentally rewrote history.
Well, I think they're more like, if they do that, it would more likely be a Flashpoint scenario where it turns out that, like, I don't know, someone fucked with the timeline.
No, but I'm saying, yeah, but I'm saying he fucks with the timeline, but it's all his fault. Like it's all Booster Gold's fault, but because of the fact that it's kind of a comedy, you're kind of like in this weird stance where it's like happy yet sad. You get what I mean? And it's like, and then the rest of the film is Booster Gold trying to build up his reputation.
Okay. But yeah, obviously, I really want to see that Titans movie happen. I want to see Robin done right in these films. We've been waiting for a good live-action Robin too long. I want to see Wally West done right, obviously. And aside from that, most of the other things that are worthy of their own movie have already been announced. Like, I know Green Lanterns, Shazam, Gotham Sirens. Overall, if they can make all these announced movies good, I'd be perfectly satisfied. The issue is that many of them won't even happen, and the ones that do are going to be crap. Overall, my expectation for the DCEU is that we're going to get a few good movies eventually. Like, not all of them are going to suck, but I think that as a whole, it's always going to pale in comparison to the MCU. And I'm not a diehard MCU fan, but I can at least respect it for being so well planned and put together. I don't think we're ever going to see that out of Warner Brothers. So I think it's about time to wrap up the stream. We've been going on for over an hour. Any final thoughts on anything?
Even though I'm probably often viewed as one of the most pessimistic people of the DCEU, I'm still kind of optimistic for it, just because.
Yeah, I'm even more pessimistic and cynical than you are, but I do still have a few specks of hope, just because I couldn't emotionally handle complete pessimism. I couldn't handle the knowledge that I'm never going to get good DC movies. So I'm going to be delusionally optimistic for a little while longer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you for appearing on the stream. Thanks to Will, who isn't here right now. I think it went pretty good for my first ever live. So thanks again. Next time.